Welcome, coach. Whether you're stepping onto the field for the very first time or you're a seasoned veteran looking to kind of refine your approach, welcome to this explainer on coaching our youngest athletes, the mini-mites. Today, we're really focusing on how to effectively manage, train, and inspire 4 and 5-year-olds, all while keeping that awesome signature BAA spirit alive and thriving. Look, coaching this age group is incredibly rewarding, but let's be totally honest here, it can sometimes feel a bit like herding cats. So, our goal today is to give you the structural foundation you need so that when you step out there, you're not just surviving practice, you're actively building confident, capable young kids. All right, let's dive into this. Here is our game plan for today's explainer. Section 1, meet your mini-mites. 2, inside their developing brains. 3, physical and motor skills. 4, the mini-mite coaching playbook. And finally, 5, safety first always. Let's kick things right off with Section 1, Meet Your Mini-Mites, looking at development at ages 4 and 5. So at ages 4 and 5, children are undergoing this absolutely massive transition. They're moving from being entirely focused on themselves to actually becoming active members of a social group, which, as you know, is the entire foundation of team sports. You might think one single year doesn't make a big difference, but developmentally, it's a huge leap. Just look at a 4-year-old. They're generally speaking in roughly 4-word sentences. They usually know about 4 colors, and socially, they're just beginning to engage in cooperative pretend play. Like pretending to be a superhero with a group of friends. But jump to age 5, and their communication becomes so much more sophisticated. They can tell you a story with at least 2 distinct events, they can count to 10, and crucially for you as a coach, they're just starting to actually follow established game rules and take turns. They're developing what psychologists call theory of mind, where they actually begin to understand that other people have totally different thoughts and feelings than their own. But amidst all that rapid growth, I want you to burn this specific number into your memory, 5 to 10. That number represents the absolute maximum attention span in minutes that you can reasonably expect from a 5-year-old during any structured activity. And for 4-year-olds, it can be even less. This is literally a game changer for practice planning. If you set up a drill and try to explain it for 12 minutes, you've already lost them. Your drills absolutely must be quick, punchy, and highly engaging. Moving right along to Section 2, inside their developing brains. We're going to look at the why behind the behavior. Coach, I promise you, understanding just a little bit of psychological theory makes the on-field chaos so much easier to handle. When you know why a player is crying because someone else got the red cone or why they flat out refuse to pass the ball, you can actually coach them effectively instead of just getting frustrated. According to cognitive psychologist Jean Piaget, kids this age are in the pre-operational stage of development, and their thinking is heavily characterized by egocentric thinking. This basically means they have a genuine cognitive inability to see a situation from another person's perspective. Picture this scenario out on the field. Your 4-year-old gets the ball, and instead of passing it to their wide-open teammate, they try to dribble through 5 kids and totally lose it. It's so easy to think they're just being selfish ball hogs, right? But they aren't. Their brain is quite literally still wiring up to understand social cooperation. They genuinely struggle to see the game from their teammate's point of view. So as a coach, you want to gently encourage turn-taking, but realize you're fighting biology if you expect flawless sharing every time. And this brilliantly illustrates our next psychological pillar from Erik Erikson. The initiative versus guilt stage. Right now, your mini-mite's primary developmental job is to explore their environment and assert power and control. They just want to try new things. When you, the coach, praise their effort and creativity, even if they totally mess up the drill, they build an incredible sense of purpose. But on the flip side, if you constantly criticize them for doing it wrong, they can develop a deep sense of guilt, and their desire to participate will just be completely crushed. Positive reinforcement isn't just a nice to have at this age, it is absolutely crucial for their psychosocial development. So focus on their initiative, not on perfection. All right, Section 3, physical and motor skills. Let's look at what they can actually do physically. So we know their brains are super busy, but what can you realistically expect these tiny athletes to do with their arms and legs? Well, once again, we see a massive leap in independence and coordination between ages 4 and 5. A typical 4-year-old has figured out how to hop on one foot. Fine motor-wise, they can unbutton some buttons and hold a crayon with their fingers rather than just a clenched fist. But look at age 5. Many 5-year-olds have actually mastered the incredibly complex biomechanical task of skipping. They can button their own clothes and largely dress themselves independently. This leap from hopping to skipping is such a great indicator of their rapidly developing physical coordination.
Because of where their bodies are at right now, these are your fundamental focuses out on the field. Hopping on one foot, skipping across the field, catching a large ball, which, by the way, they should be able to do most of the time by age 5, and basic bending and throwing. Coach, listen, complex tactical plays, offsides traps, or intricate passing formations are completely useless right now. Your main job is to build these foundational movement and hand-eye coordination skills so that they have the physical literacy required for specialized sports later on. Just keep them jumping, bending, and throwing.
Up next is Section 4, the Mini-Mite Coaching Playbook. Time for some actionable strategies. All right, you know the science and you know the milestones. Now it's time to translate all of this directly into our on-the-field playbook. Here is the progression for a perfect Mini-Mite drill. Step 1, give instructions with only 1 or 2 steps. Remember, they speak in 4 to 5 word sentences, so don't give them a 10-step masterclass. Step 2, use visual demonstrations instead of lectures. Don't just talk at them, actually show them the movement and have them copy you. Step 3, incorporate pretend play and storytelling. Since 4-year-olds love pretending to be characters, you can turn a boring running drill into a superhero rescue. Tell them they're superheroes racing to save a cat. It aligns perfectly with their cognitive needs, it grabs that super short 5 to 10 minute attention span, and it keeps them totally engaged. And when you're dealing with those inevitable distractions, here's a massive pro tip. Give them small leadership roles. Remember that initiative versus guilt stage we talked about? Kids want to assert control. So if you have a player who is completely distracted and off picking dandelions, don't yell at them. Just call them over and make them your official equipment helper to set up the cones. You're redirecting their energy, you're building their sense of competence, and you're keeping the practice moving smoothly. It works like a charm. Finally, Section 5, safety first, always. Let's talk about managing risk. Managing risk is a huge, huge part of the Mini-Mite coaching job. The crucial point here is understanding this very dangerous gap. Kids at this age have immensely high adventurous energy, but they pair that with an almost non-existent understanding of risk and very, very low impulse control. They are excitedly discovering what their bodies can do, but they just haven't developed the foresight to realize that jumping off the top of the bleachers is a terrible idea. They simply cannot self-regulate for safety yet. This means that constant, vigilant coach supervision is absolutely required to make sure they don't engage in unsafe physical play. Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. Coach, how will you set up your environment to let these kids explore safely? Your ultimate challenge is to design a practice space that actively manages those physical risks while still encouraging all that wonderful initiative, pretend play, and boundless energy we've talked about today. If you can strike that balance, you won't just be teaching them a sport. You'll be giving them a powerful foundation for growth. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and good luck out there on the field.